tutorial, I'll show you how to make these beautiful butterfly birthday cards. To create the cards, I'm going to use a printed template I created in Illustrator. You can download this template from the link provided in the description box. For the actual cards, I'm using 4¼ by 5½ inches pre-made blank cards and envelopes by Recollections, which I bought at my local craft store, which is Michael's, by the way. Cut out the template so it fits the pre-made blank cards. I'm going to use my x-acto knife and a ruler to cut out the template because it's easier for me, but you can of course use your scissors to cut out the template. Just follow the crop marks. The purpose here is for the template to be the same size as your blank greeting cards. Now we're going to transfer the template to the card. To do that, we're going to shade the back side of the template with a pencil to create a DIY version of transfer paper. Take the back side of your template and look at the light and estimate where you think the image is, like I'm doing here, and lightly draw around the butterfly and the text of your pencil. The pencil is very light and a little bit difficult to see on camera, but it's there. Now shade where you drew the pencil lines. We just want to shade where the image and the text is on the other side. Of course, if you have some transfer paper at home, you can use that instead of this technique, but I like how this technique allows me to cheaply transfer the image to the card. The butterfly we're going to paint on watercolor paper, so we shouldn't transfer that. So just transfer the lettering. So I'm going to use a ballpoint pen with some pressure and just go over each letter. We need to use some pressure when tracing the letters because we want to have a slight emboss to the letters. And I find that a ballpoint pen works the best in this case. Carefully trace the letters with your gold ink pen. Since the text has some embossing effect, it should be fairly easy to follow each letter shape. To create the butterfly, I'm going to use this cold pressed finish watercolor paper, but any watercolor paper will do. Now use the template that we created previously to trace your butterfly. I'm actually going to create 3 butterflies in this tutorial to show you different variations of the watercolor technique. Use a ballpoint pen and trace over the outline of the butterfly. The tracing creates a very light outline of each shape, which this camera doesn't pick up very well, as you can see, and I apologize that it's a little bit difficult to see the outline. I'm just going to trace 2 more butterflies onto the paper here. You can use any watercolor paints you have. I'm using this set I bought from St. Petersburg. It's called Nevskaya Palitra. For the brush, I'm using a medium-sized synthetic brush. For all of my butterflies, I'm going to use a wet-on-wet watercolor technique. In addition, I'm also going to experiment with salt and alcohol to create different textures and watercolor effects. Take your brush and add water over the butterflies. Focus on adding more water in the center and less water towards the edges. Take the brightest red that you have and paint in the center of the butterfly. Now clean your brush with clean water and take a little bit of orange color and paint the edges of the butterfly wings while connecting the two colors together. To add depth and contrast, take some purple and paint in the center of the butterfly. I also decided to paint some yellow in various places since the orange is getting lost in the painting. The yellow color would mix with red and create orange. I decided to also add salt all over the butterfly to create some uneven texture. As for the second butterfly, start with the light blue color. I think the water on this butterfly dried up a little bit, so we'll need to add more water to get the wet on wet technique working properly. I think it looks very nice when the color is somewhat uneven, so I'm purposely actually leaving some white spots on the wings. For color depth and contrast, I'm painting dark blue color and purple in the center of the butterfly. Now I'm just spraying the butterfly with alcohol to see and experiment what kind of texture this will create. As you can see, I'm just adding yellow all over the butterfly, and you probably notice the pattern that I'm painting in. I mainly use three colors. I pick my primary color, which is yellow in this case, and then add my adjacent secondary color, which is similar in tone but has slight variation of the main color. In this case, it's orange, which I'm adding as dots all over the butterfly. And I finally add my third color, which is darker color, and I adjust it to the secondary color. The last color is supposed to add depth and contrast to the shape. On this yellow butterfly, I'm using red as my contrast color. If you look on the color wheel, you'll notice that all these three colors are next to each other, so yellow, orange, and red are analogous colors. In other words, they're pretty harmonious colors to be used together. Now, let the butterflies dry. You can either air dry them or use a blow dryer to dry them faster. I'm gonna use a blow dryer. Once the butterflies are dried, paint the bodies with a dark blue color, or you can use black. But I prefer to use either dark blue or dark green instead of black. For some sparkle and finish, take the gold pen and outline the edges of the butterfly wings, as well as adding lines and dots wherever you feel like it. If you use salt on your butterflies, like I did here on the red butterfly, don't forget to remove the salt once the butterfly is fully dried. I'm gonna use the scissors to cut out my butterflies. You can use x-acto knife or scissors if you want, whatever is easier for you. Take your gold wire and create butterfly antennae. What I'm doing here is I'm just bending the wire in half and then cutting it with the pliers. I also want to make sure to bend the wire edge outward so it's not sharp. Once you're done shaping the antenna, hot glue it to the butterfly. And our last step is to hot glue the butterfly to the card. Thank you so much for watching this tutorial. If you enjoyed this video and would like to see more, please subscribe to my channel. And I'll see you next time.